So, last week, Risa, Jasmine, and I took a trip to the US where we visited a friend who lives in LA and runs a gym called CrossFit Manhattan Beach.
Corazon. Gun finna jump for the shit. All top when I speak, all cap with the speech till they caught up in the rapture. I'm so out of line with the phrase game. Let's take a break, been a long day. Hit your line, what you fall through with the night.
I had only done CrossFit one time here in Japan, and it was in Hakuba at a place called Mountain Cross. I loved the workout, it was extremely intense and completely different from what I normally do. So, having just come back to Japan from our trip to LA, I decided to join CrossFit, and the one I'm going to is in Daikanyama, so it's called Daikanyama CrossFit. And depending on who you talk to, CrossFit either gets an amazing rep or an awful one. So I wanted to explain why I, someone who's worked in the fitness industry for the past 10 years, has decided to suddenly join CrossFit.
Let's take a break, been a long day. Hit your line, what you fall through with the nightsticks. Maybe help me spark the ideas. We got nowhere else to go, it's only up from there. I've been on my own, just running through the field. Say vivid for the ears, I know that's how they like it. Yeah, I fantasize, tell me that it's real when it's all said and done.
And the reasons are simple. I've been working out since I was 14, 15 years old. When I say working out, I mean doing, concentration curls, random squats, whatever, in high school, and then getting a little better in college, and then really figuring things out through my early mid-20s. So basically, I've spent a lot of time in gym environments, and I really feel comfortable in that space. I love lifting, I like building muscle, I like the aesthetic element, but one thing that's completely missing from the gym element that I didn't even realize I miss as much as I do until this trip to LA is that feeling of play. And CrossFit does that really, really well if you go there with the right intentions. So basically, when I was in LA, I did CrossFit with a friend of ours named Patrick, who owns the gym at CrossFit Manhattan Beach, all 5 days that we were there. We were there basically Sunday through Saturday, or Sunday through Friday, and I did CrossFit Monday through Friday. So I went from one CrossFit class to just 5 in a row. The programming there is amazing. Patrick is an absolutely fantastic coach, and I loved every single workout. It always started with a dynamic warm-up, some mobility activation, then we got into strength, and then the Metcon, which is what you typically see where everyone's kind of panting and dying. And then in the end, finished with the group stretch. So the programming is fantastic, and honestly, from the moment I did the first class, I was actually very intrigued because my understanding of CrossFit prior to jumping in and joining this whole thing was that it's a place where people go and basically ego lift or race against the clock, and then more often than not suffer some kind of injury. Does that happen? Of course. But does that summarize CrossFit? No, actually. The classes I was in were fantastic, largely because the instructor was excellent. The box itself was really focused on form and not using extremely heavy weight to get things done. And the race against the clock wasn't so much a race against the clock or other people as it was a race against yourself, which I really enjoy. And that's why I've enjoyed working out on my own for so long. So again, the reason I joined CrossFit here in Japan is because I've been missing that feeling of play while I exercise. And I've realized that CrossFit allows for that in the perfect way for me in particular. I'm very, very comfortable with probably 90% of what it is we're going to do in CrossFit, but there are things I'm not very good at and I'm really looking forward to improving on. Those things are, for example, walking handstands or handstands in general, handstand push-ups, which have been a life goal of mine to do them really clean, but I've never really been able to do that. Muscle-ups, I can do them poorly, but I mean clean muscle-ups, like what you see when you look at calisthenics videos, and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to developing new skills, because frankly, I just think that they're things that someone at my level of fitness should be able to do, and I know I have the strength to do most of them. I might just not have the technique down. So that's what I'm looking most forward to doing, and that's fundamentally why I joined. So I'm making this video for people like me, or at least people who thought like me, to recognize that CrossFit is actually an extremely fun and multidisciplinary way of exercising if that's what you want. Fundamentally, if you just want to exercise to compete in a bodybuilding competition, don't do CrossFit. It's not really going to align with that. You're better off going to a gym, hiring a trainer, and then working on exercise for the sake of aesthetics. Obviously, I want to look good, and I'm sure every CrossFitter does too, but the focus there is a little bit different, and I really appreciate that the focus is on play and skill development, or at least that's why I'm going there. So again, if you've had reservations about CrossFit, I'm making this video because I have known about CrossFit forever. It has been in Japan for probably a decade, and I have never joined because of the reservations I had. But I went to CrossFit in LA, again, CrossFit Manhattan Beach with Patrick was incredible, and he turned me on to it. And so here I am in Tokyo starting CrossFit. And if you haven't tried it, I'd encourage you to look into it too. Things to watch out for. If you're gonna join a CrossFit box, do not ego lift. And just for reference, ego lifting is when you put your ego ahead of your ability, which means you try to do things that you probably can't do because maybe the guy or girl next to you is doing it, or because you're trying to hit some number, or because you're trying to set some time. It doesn't matter how much you get done in the class as long as you feel like you've made even a small step forward. And taking that approach to health and wellness, but especially fitness in general, is really what's most important. You're never gonna have the most amazing workout that's gonna take you from here to here. It just doesn't work like that. Getting better with regard to fitness is an extremely incremental, small step process. So every time you go in and do a workout, you're not trying to set the biggest PR possible with risk of injury. That's not a good idea. Just take those gradual steps and move gradually forward. Or, in fitness talk, think of progressive overload. You're really incrementally adding more load to whatever you're doing, or more speed or intensity, or whatever you choose to add. In my case, again, the single greatest reason I've joined CrossFit is because I want to reintroduce play and skill acquisition into my training. Again, I've done a lot of training, I've trained a lot of people, and I love exercise in general. But what I really am enjoying about CrossFit is the focus on those two things: play and skill acquisition. So if you guys have questions, please drop them in the comments. And again, recognize I didn't do CrossFit for a long time because of my reservations. So if you have those, trust me when I tell you, I understand. But having experienced it for a week with an amazing friend in LA, and recognizing that this actually can be an extremely effective way to build on the things that I've always wanted to build on, I actually see myself both doing CrossFit classes and working out outside of the gym. And actually that's what I did yesterday. I did a 6:30 a.m. class, and then I went later in the afternoon for a really short 30-minute basically pump. I did a push-pull day, and I really liked that combination. Class is its own thing, but again, if you're working out for aesthetics, it definitely makes sense to complement classes with whatever you're trying to do. So my take is probably going to be CrossFit classes 3 to 5 times a week, as well as my own smaller sessions, possibly 3 to 5 times a week. I honestly haven't quite figured it out, but I know that for myself, I love working out in a gym environment, so that won't go away. But whether or not I do that in the open gym time or at a separate gym, I'm not quite sure. Then an obvious other factor is cost. CrossFit is not cheap. I'm basically spending about $200 a month now to go to these CrossFit classes. But like I said, the way I view it is it's a way in which I can introduce play and skill acquisition into my training. And I won't necessarily be at CrossFit forever, but it is something that, at least for the time being, I'm really enjoying, and I know is going to continue making me fundamentally a better, more capable human being. And at the end of the day, if you're exercising for health, that really should be the goal. Whether you're trying to build muscle, lose fat, stress less, have more energy, sleep better, and any of those reasons related to why you exercise, fundamentally it's to become a better version of you. So again, I hope this video is helpful. If you guys have questions, please drop them below, and recognize I had all of the reservations you have, trust me, before signing up. But having such a good experience in California, it really tipped me over the edge to give it a shot, and so far I'm enjoying it. So thanks for watching, guys, and if you have any questions or comments, drop them below and I'm happy to get back to you. And if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video. See you guys.
Aww.
So my first CrossFit class is officially complete. So begins doing CrossFit in Japan.